Welcome to the Angels Brief podcast. Each week, we will sit down with industry leaders, market makers, and the startup ecosystem stakeholders for honest, unfiltered conversations about what is working and what is not when it comes to angel capital in the state of Michigan and everything else in between. This episode is hosted by Doron York, the CEO of CitySide Ventures and the co-founder of Birmingham Angels. So let's get into it.
My guest today in the new episode of the Angels Brief is Ara Topouzian, currently the executive director of the Michigan Venture Capital Association. Ara graduated from Wayne State with a degree in art and journalism. Former, I think I met you when you were the executive director of the Troy Chamber, the economic development director of the city of Novi, and as well as involved in a couple other boards and a couple other organizations. Yeah. And a talented musician playing an instrument that have 76 strings. Yes. I was kind of thinking about it since yesterday, like how the hell do you do that?
Well, it's a laptop harp that's plucked at, and it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time to tune.
Wow.
Especially in this weather.
And then when did you start learning how to play it?
Play music? I've been playing music my entire life, but I started playing Armenian music out of college. Wow. Believe it or not. I was playing the trumpet in public school, hated it. And so I said, well, I'll never do this again. But I love Armenian music. And it was an instrument that you didn't see a lot of here in Detroit. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that play the instrument around the world. And so it was just the instrument that I sort of gravitated toward and picked it up, and I've been playing it ever since. I've done a lot with it. I love it.
I get it. Well, so welcome. So the context of this podcast is, why Michigan is trailing behind other states in the state of the Midwest when it's come to angel investing. As a research we did with a couple of students from the University of Michigan that helped us, we kind of looking to see we trailing behind Ohio, for God's sake.
Right.
And I'm saying there's a disconnect between Michigan ecosystems that people talking about it all over the country, the fastest growing ecosystem in the country. Michigan is full of, especially Detroit, full of a lot of good stuff that's happening. But yet when it's come to early stage investing, specifically angel investing, we are so behind.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
It's a loaded question that I wish we knew the entire answer to, but I don't think it's just angel investing. I think it's also venture funds as well. And when you look at the comparables of what's going on throughout the Midwest, you're seeing, like you said, Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, the Midwest. Right. You're seeing that they have got just more incentives going on. And that is why we're trailing behind. I don't know that Michigan is really, there used to be an angel tax credit years back. We'd love to see that come back. Mm-hmm. There needs to be incentives for the community, for the venture community, and for the angel community. But I think what we're not seeing in this state is enough focus on more capital, just more capital in general. So I don't know. You would know better than I around the angel community. I think in the last few years, the stock market probably doesn't help, right? It makes it a lot easier probably for an angel investor to just kind of stay in that market. I totally agree. We need more angels out there. Angels are usually the first boots to hit the ground. And then following that is usually venture.
Yeah, we're saying that angel investments increase the VC deal flow that ultimately lead to M&A activities. So, the angels... We're saying that the angels create the business, the venture capital rearrange the capital, and the private equity rearrange the assets.
Right.
So in another way, the angel create the job, private equity get rid of the job.
Right.
But nevertheless, so we highlight few things that it's just openly run it by people in the community. Say, are we looking in the right direction, or we're missing? Because when I go to Starbucks here in Birmingham. And listen, we're sitting in Birmingham between the Audi and the Porsche dealership. It's like the money's here, right?
Right.
When I go to Starbucks and people look at Birmingham Angels and they said, I heard something about you guys. Yeah. And when we talked for 5 minutes, said, I didn't know, guys, you're here. So it's this lack of education. It's lack of exposure. We're not promoting it enough. I mean,
I think it's all of it.
yeah.
I was born and bred in Oakland County.
Okay.
And you would think that Oakland County, being one of the richest counties in the country, would have sort of a bigger angel network. The folks at even Oakland County themselves, when I first came here, wanted to know, hey, is there a conglomerate of angel investors here? And they couldn't point their fingers to it.
They can, because if I'm looking at, although, like I said, Michigan is full of innovation and resources and everything else, I look just a few examples. New York Angels, in any given moment, have 321 active members.
Right.
Hyde Park Angels in Chicago, close to 300 members.
Right.
Irish Angels is about 300 members in every given moment.
Yeah.
I think if we put all the Michigan Angels together, we don't get to 300.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think you've touched on something, when we talk about the work that MVCA does. So part of what we do is the advocacy part. And advocacy comes, in my opinion, it comes in a lot of different streams. I think one of the most important ones is the education. You've got legislators that come and go. Term limits are not necessarily an investor's best friend, because some legislators want to see, what can I do now?
Right.
What can we fix now?
Right.
And we already know that right now it's the roads, it's other infrastructure, and sometimes there's not that focus on innovation. Now there has been recently with the Michigan Innovation Fund, right? We need more of that. But legislators need to understand the value of the work that folks like you're doing, funds are doing, and that, I think, will help drive it a little bit better.
So, that's kind of my experience. I'm not saying it's the truth, because two people can experience the same situation differently. But it seems like that Michigan is historically more conservative when it's come to capital.
Could be. I mean, I only go back 6 years with this organization.
Okay, right.
So I think that we've grown quite a bit as a state, right? We're not comparable to the coastal regions. I don't think we ever really aspired to be. But we also know that there is a influx of wonderful talent here, entrepreneurial talent, and tech is big, life science, health, and now AI is big here. And you can't fund it all. We're not writing those big checks.
Right, because when I talk to the venture capital groups out there, we know quite a bit of them. We learn a couple of things, that certain large portion of the venture capital that is located in Michigan actually invest outside of Michigan. And most of what I hear from the venture groups out here in the state, we can find a lot of good deals. Yes, because if the angel is not creating those deals for you 3 years down the road, then you're not going to find them, right? And then David Brophy's telling us that half the company that created in the University of Michigan end up leaving the state because they can't have access to early stage capital. They're going to go outside and they're not going to come back.
It's one big vicious circle.
Exactly. So my mission here is to crack the code. What do we need to crack here to stop that and turn it to the other direction? And I'm not saying there's an answer out there that we're missing, but I think there needs
to be a lot of effort. I mean, I think there's multiple things that can be done. I do think, going back to the education part, I think the marketing part, I think promoting, that's part of what we're supposed to do as an organization. And we do it the best we can, but letting people know that the good news that's going on here, the funds that are investing, whether they're angel groups or venture funds, we need to show others what's going on, and hopefully that'll spark more investors.
I was disappointed when the what do you call it, the Michigan Angels Summit that Skip used to do now turned to the Midwest early stage, whatever the thing is. And last event that I was there, I was pretty disappointed. I said, Skip, I mean, why you taking the word angels out of it again? And then it's kind of like, but we talked to Oakland County recently about the possibility of somewhere later this year to do what I called Oakland County Early Stage Summit.
Great.
Bringing the Michigan Venture Capital Association. And we even talked to the ACA that they said that they may send somebody to support the organization, and bringing all the wealthy individuals from Birmingham country clubs and all of this. Listen, guys, there's a ton of opportunity here in Michigan, but you need to learn about it and participate, right?
Right.
Because it's very heartfelt to see a lot of those founders that get frustrated.
Yeah, we don't want them going elsewhere. We see it over and over again, and we don't want it. We missed out on Google. Google shouldn't have ever left here, and so yeah, we need to have combined efforts so that we stop doing that.
Right. So there's the public sector, which is the government, the local, all the way to Lansing, and then there's the private sector. Right. The government alone cannot.
Right. They're not going to solve all the issues.
Right. You know, and yes, do we want to see more money from the state? Yes. I mean, we are now, some people know I was born and raised in Tel Aviv in Israel. So there's a lot of defense breakthrough in technologies coming.
Yeah.
Michigan is big in defense. The Michigan Israeli Business Accelerator trying to bring a lot of Israeli companies over here. And then when I met with the founders of a couple of those companies, they impressed with the infrastructure of defense here in Michigan. But they said, but at the end of the day, the state are not favorable to what they get in San Diego and Miami or some other places.
Right. Well, and that's where you get into, tax credits and other incentives. And that's kind of that's the boat that we're into right now, is that when you talked about earlier of how do we compete, we're not in some of those regards. I think we're the best state in the country, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I mean, I know when I go outside the state, and I always tease people. I ask them, what's the biggest industry in Michigan? They'll say, "Oh, the monopoly." I said, "No, it's not." What do you mean? It's like healthcare.
Right.
No.
Right.
It's like,
and outside investors do like doing business here if they can. We've got that Midwestern know-how. I think the attitude is probably a little bit better, and it's easier to actually do deals. So if we've got all of that, why is it we can't get there? But I think of it as look at the bigger picture. Just even in venture alone, it's not like we've been operating for hundreds of years. Us as an organization, we're about 25 years old. That's short term. We're still kind of, we're a startup to a certain degree. Right. And so if you take the whole ecosystem like that, I think we're still a fairly young ecosystem. That doesn't mean that that's an excuse, but it certainly gives that reason. I think we've come a long way in the last few years, but I think there's just a lot that has to happen almost at once, if that's even possible.
No, I agree. I mean, one of the thing that we assert, that we learned in conversation I had with RJ from the Business Magazine when he started the whole section of venture in his with the magazine. Yeah, we discover one interesting thing. Michigan doesn't have a central place for the venture activities. So there's
hubs.
Yeah, there's hubs.
Right.
So we actually, maybe it's the first public announcement on this, we registered a domain called michiganstart.com.
Okay.
And we are building a central depository for all the startup activities in one place. So at least from the deal flow perspective, every company should have a profile there.
Yeah.
And when you go to Michigan Start, you can say, okay, here's all the companies in Michigan raising money right now, kind of thing. So there's there's hubs, but the hubs don't necessarily work with each other.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do. I'm a glass half full guy, so I'd like to think that they probably work more together now than they have in the past. But you're right, there is no real central location. But is that okay? I think it's okay. I mean, I think there was quite a bit in Ann Arbor. Activity is still in Ann Arbor. Certainly with the success of Michigan Central, New Lab, and whatnot, folks are looking at Detroit more so now than they ever have. And you've got Grand Rapids. But even with those three hubs, there's still a lot going on throughout the state. Again, I'm a glass half full guy.
No, I'm not disagreeing you that there's activities all over the state. I'm saying that one of the area that we are not doing the best we can is the collaboration piece. So yes, I have a relationship with Dan from Centropolis. So yes, he shared with me everything going on through there. Through the angel community, they're getting on the phone once a month and share technically the deal flow. Unfortunately, we keep talking about the same 6-7 companies that we're dragging them along between they're pitching me today, Point Angel tomorrow, North Michigan. And I keep saying to those guys on the phone, I said, why are we doing it to them? Why we need to drag them
Right.
to six different groups instead of all of us coming
Doing it all
together and
together.
looking?
Yeah, it's a good
because we
point.
end up
Yeah.
investing in those companies anyhow.
Right. Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Right. So because if you learn from ecosystem like Tel Aviv or Silicon Valley or even New York or even Chicago, that the three big elements for successful ecosystem: density of activities, access to early stage capital,
Yeah.
and velocity and execution.
Yeah.
For every deal in Michigan, it takes the investor 3 months to decide to invest.
Yeah.
In Chicago, New York, and Miami, it takes about 2
Quicker.
weeks.
Yeah. I get it.
So
I get it. Well, collaboration is always the key for any kind of, I think, real growth. And I do, but again, I do think that we have the know-how to do it. But I do agree we need to be doing more of it.
But one of the things I thought about after the last Michigan Venture Capital event, I think it was the Novi, the event. Maybe one of the things we need to do is the next venture capital networking event to say a member bring a friend, somebody that's not
I
part,
agree. Yeah.
somebody that never got into venture capital or looking into maybe do venture investors, bring a friend.
Yeah.
And then that friend is talk to 5 other people, and suddenly the conversation takes speed because
Yeah.
every time we all get together for networking with the people that already know each other, it's kind of like double negative. I mean, okay.
Well, it's you're very timely in bringing that up because we've been looking for the last couple of years at that very same model of what do we need to do as an organization to engage more people in it. It's not a huge community, as we both know, right? So how do we bring more people together, get more of the conversation going? So we're looking at ways of not just our normal networking events, but even smaller ones where we can even pull peer-to-peer groups in together is definitely an excellent idea. I think, we hate talking about COVID every 2 minutes, but that put a big pause in a lot of things. And we're away from it at this point, and we almost went like way into the other direction. We went from not doing anything to now we've got a ton of different things going on.
Right.
So honing that in and being more strategic on a lot of that collaboration and partnership and bringing more people together is a wonderful idea.
Right. So, and by the way, I mean, I talked to Jeff the other day. I mean, like we definitely would, like to host a Michigan Venture Capital Session event over here. Maybe even do like Happy Friday. Once
like
a month.
Big free bourbon. See, you heard it here first. Big free bourbon event. He's ready to teasing.
No, I mean, by all means. I mean, it's just bringing, because again, there's a lot of wealth here in Oakland County. We just need to bring some interesting event for them to come and listen to attend. And then if they invest in venture funds or do their own investment, it doesn't matter, but get them to play.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I would love to see like more angels come out,
And what you said earlier about the whole economy and stuff.
Yeah.
But listen, don't forget one thing, Ara. We are living in the greatest transfer of wealth of all time.
Yeah, I agree.
From baby boomer to, what did they say? First generation build, the second generation improve, the third generation destroy.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. Where am I in this then? I'm an Xer. I don't have any of that.
But we need to make sure that we are, because who's going after this money? The money managers and the financial planners and the stockbrokers and all that. We need to put in front of those people, there's another asset class that you should consider, not only because it's profitable, it's also building the community.
Yeah, I agree.
So kind of timing is perfect right now to put something out there, say to people, hey, listen.
I do.
So
I think that's great.
So we'll talk about it. Maybe we do like once a month, Friday afternoon happy hours, wine, scotch, and venture talk. And people come here and we pick a topic and we talk about it with people.
I think it'd be great. I think more of those kinds of things. I think more coordinated efforts like that would be great.
Right. And
especially Oakland County, because again, we're here in Oakland County. You would think it would be a natural for a lot of that happening here. And yes, it's happening in Detroit and it's happening in Ann Arbor, but it should also happen here too.
The average angel investor, the average age used to be in the 50s. Now it's in the 30s.
Wow. Well, I did something wrong. I went to Wayne State and got that journalism degree.
Well, according to the ACA, I mean, the younger generation less afraid of it than the generation before them.
Right.
The
Yeah,
generation before
I
them.
believe it.
Yeah, kind of things. But one thing I learned, interestingly enough, it's not the risk aversion necessarily that's preventing for people to play. It's in one side, it's kind of laziness, and the other side is motivation, right? So we had a member that just joined our group a couple of weeks ago. He just sold the family business for $400 million.
Yeah.
And the guy wake up in the morning and there's no urgency for anything, right? I
Right.
mean, I'm play golf today. I'm going to go on a boat today. So there's, but if we made the connection for them that your money actually going to build the businesses in the community
Right.
and the economy here, suddenly
Right.
they gotta kind of, oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
And so
interested.
that goes back to the education of it, the marketing of it, and
Right.
whatnot. Yeah. I
Right.
agree.
So, we know there's a lot of great stuff across the state going
Yep.
on right now. Like you mentioned, all the ecosystem from all the way to Upper Peninsula, all the way down to, to Detroit, which good, better, and different doesn't matter. But the fact that there's activity, the fact people's coming.
I agree.
We were in the event, team and I, on Saturday, and it was packed with people.
Yeah.
And it's good to see. I think the one good thing about this Black Tech Saturday event is that they're bringing some young people off the street to start being interested in something else, which is very important. So
Yep.
I'm doing it. So, yeah, I mean, we, kind of almost like we need to turn every stone to see, like, what are we missing here?
I think we've got some opportunities. Definitely got opportunities. I'm not a fan of the word synergy, but there's quite a bit going on in the state, and I think we need to. And I often say that we need to continue to put our foot on the gas pedal and not slow it down. And really, if you take a step back and look at what's gone on in the last few years, I think we've come a long way. But I mean, we've got much more to do.
I appreciate it. Well, maybe one of those Friday afternoon, you bring your instrument.
Nobody wants to hear that.
You'd be surprised.
Although maybe after a couple of scotches, they would. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in New York. I can't remember, a few months back, and there's a couple of attorneys that have a small investment group together, whatever they want to call themselves. But they, one of them own a bar in Yonkers, New York.
Yeah.
And then once a month on Friday afternoon, they have an open mic. It's kind of like a startup after hours kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody can go to the mic and tell jokes. Of course, stay away from sex and race and all that stuff.
Right.
But it turned to be quite a bit. I mean, there's like 300-400 people show up there,
Wow.
kind of do this. So bringing, levity and humor, get people together.
Oh, absolutely. Well, there is also, you talk about that idea that happened in New York. There is quite a bit of musical talent here as well. So part of Renaissance's Undemo Day would be sort of the night before. Folks like Doug Neal was really instrumental with ELAB of putting some of this together with a group of folks. But grabbing investors that play music, Dr. Brophy plays music. There's other folks, and kind of get together and play on stage. The music was phenomenal.
Yeah,
We got a lot of talent here.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm talented. I'm dabbling with the saxophone. But if I play on a stage, I don't think anybody will ever come again. So,
You
but
never
anyhow,
know.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, no,
And,
thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We'll reserve the right to call you again, and maybe in the
Yes.
future as things develop.
More than happy.
And if you get across anything interested that people should know of, just let us know.
I will.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Everybody.
Are you interested in becoming a member and joining our group? Please contact Doron York by phone 248-981-6688 or visit our members' website by using the following QR code. We are looking forward to talking to you soon.